All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Amari Magaha, and welcome to the California Ranked Choice Voting Coalition's December statewide meeting. I'm kind of in shock that the year is over, but I am so happy that you all are here tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us, so thank you in advance. And I am seeing more and more people join the room, which is fantastic. And before we officially begin, if you would like to share either the city you live in or maybe other organizations that you are a part of throughout California, and just send it into the chat so we can see where you all are from, that would be fantastic. All of our current volunteers are like a good mix of Northern and Southern California, so it'd be cool to see where you all are from. So go ahead and put your city in the chat or organization that you are interested in. And I'm gonna take a look at the chat and see where some of you are from. We have Mountain View, multiple Mountain View, Northern California, Orange County, Sacramento, Petaluma, Marin, Sacramento, La Habra, Berkeley, Irvine, Rancho Cucamonga. So it looks like we have a very great mix of Northern and Southern California representatives here, which is pretty cool. I love to see that. And feel free to share other organizations that you're working with and maybe even who you heard about this meeting from, whether it was on social media or a friend or another organization. That would be great. And one more thing, before we begin, we are going to be sharing a link inside the chat. So make sure you're looking out for that. We're actually going to do a real-time ranked choice voting simulation. And the theme of today's ranked choice voting is ranking your favorite holiday drinks. And at the end of the call, we will be sharing which drink won the vote. So make sure you stay into the end if you're interested in knowing which holiday drink is everyone's favorite. And we all know voting is very, very serious, but this is just a way for us to kind of get comfortable with the new system. So very fun, lighthearted. Make sure you're looking at the chat for that link. It's going to be RCV is going to be the first three letters of that link if you all are trying to find it. And if you are just now joining us, hello, welcome. My name is Amari Magaha, and we will be running in real-time ranked choice voting simulator that is going to rank your favorite holiday drinks. And the options that we have are hot cocoa, hot toddy, mulled wine, eggnog, and pumpkin spice latte. So you have 5 different holiday drinks to rank. And I'm seeing more and more people join, which is great. And I'm gonna look at the chat and see where some of you are from. San Jose, Santa Clara, Palo Alto, more Northern California. Who else do we have here? Chula Vista, SoCal, Carlsbad, SoCal, San Francisco. That's awesome. All right, well, if you haven't already clicked the ranked choice voting simulation that we put in the chat, please do. And with that, I am going to hand it off to Jess. Jess, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks, Amari. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jess. I'm on the exec team here at Cal RCV. Super excited to see you and to welcome you into our little coalition. So tonight, we're going to provide a basic introduction to Cal RCV for the newer folks, but we'll also be delivering some really exciting news about what we've been up to and what we have planned in the new year. So make sure to stick around. As you may know, ranked choice voting, or RCV, is having a bit of a moment. It's gaining momentum, and this is the perfect time to get involved. So not only have a number of states and cities recently adopted RCV, but more and more often it's being discussed in the media, by politicians, and by public intellectual types as a better path forward for American elections. But before we get too deep into this discussion, we just want to play a really short video for any newcomers, which will explain the basic mechanics of how RCV works. So Randy, if you could start the video right now, that would be wonderful.
Politics is tearing us apart, and it's because elections aren't working for most of us. Here's why. In the US, each of us can vote for the candidate we like the most, but whenever more than 2 candidates are running to win 1 seat, it's possible for most voters to hate whoever wins. Because of this split vote, politicians can ignore the will of most voters and still win. Ranked choice voting gives you the freedom to select a backup choice to prevent that from happening. Let's say a group uses ranked choice voting to decide what to eat for dinner tonight. Each voter selects their favorite dish, but also has the option to choose backup dishes. If one food receives more than half the votes, it wins, just like in any other election. But let's get to dessert, where the competition is more fierce. What if no ice cream flavor has more than 50% of the vote? Under a normal race, vanilla would win, even though a majority of voters didn't pick it. With ranked choice voting, the flavor with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who chose that flavor as number 1 will have their votes count for their next choice. Everyone gets a say, no one wastes their vote, and the winner is the flavor that the largest number of people agreed upon. That's ranked choice voting. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You get more voice and more choice, and that makes elections better for all of us.
All right, well, now that you're all experts on how RCV works, let's talk about why we need it and how we're going to achieve it here in California. So no matter what side of the aisle you're sitting on, you can probably recognize that the way we elect people is fundamentally broken. So many people feel like their voices don't matter today, and due to the way our elections are structured, they may be right. RCV helps elect candidates who are more representative of voters' true preferences, and it can encourage and reflect greater diversity, intellectual and otherwise, and build more faith in our election system. So why is Cal RCV the right group to take on this challenge? Great question. Well, we're both a standalone group and we're a partnership of multiple organizations working on implementing RCV across the state of California. We're nonpartisan, we are action-oriented, and we're laser-focused on doing what it takes to get this across the finish line. And we're also committed to having diverse perspectives within the coalition because we understand that's going to make us stronger in the long term. At this point, you may also be asking, what's the plan? Also a great question. Our long-term goal is a statewide ballot initiative, but in the meantime, we'll be supporting local RCV campaigns across the state. Statewide adoption of RCV is going to be a large and sustained effort that's going to require an educational campaign, significant fundraising, careful strategizing, and lots of sweat equity. This two-prong approach is meant to put points on the board with local wins while giving us the runway we need to launch a successful and well-crafted statewide campaign. Now I'm going to hand it over to Tom, who's going to talk more about Cal RCV's strategy, operations, and its big plans for the new year and beyond. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess. So I'm Tom Sharon. I'm a co-founder of Cal RCV. I'm also on the organization's executive team, as is Jess. And as Jess mentioned, there's a lot of momentum behind ranked choice voting right now. Next slide, Randy. Thank you. So RCV is the fastest growing nonpartisan voting reform in the country. It is now being used in 50 jurisdictions. 9.6 million American voters have access to use RCV today, which is absolutely amazing. And just in 2021, 1.2 million voters used RCV for the first time. And that's largely across the New York City primaries, which hopefully everyone has heard about, the Virginia GOP primaries, and I think 21 cities in Utah used ranked choice voting this year. I'm sure there were some others, other elections run this year, but really amazing numbers nationwide. Next slide. Yeah, and 86% of those voters in Utah that were using RCV for the first time said they were satisfied after ranking their ballots. That happens to be right around the same approval ratings as New York City voters gave RCV earlier in the year. And, RCV is doing exactly what we would expect it to. It's performing as expected. In New York, they elected their second Black mayor and first ever majority female city council, as well as the first South Asian American, first Muslim woman, and first Black gay woman council members. All of these candidates won in New York City's RCV primaries in June and are now going to comprise NYC's most diverse government ever. And on the same night, Virginia Republicans swept statewide races for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. And all three of those candidates were nominated using Virginia's first ever RCV Republican convention. And it seems pretty apparent that the use of RCV encouraged a less negative primary race, ensuring that all three of those candidates had majority Republican support, really unifying the party. And, there in Virginia, Winsome Sears is going to be Virginia's first Black woman lieutenant governor, and Jason Murez is going to be its first Latino attorney general. Next slide, please. Ballot measures to adopt RCV passed in 5 cities in 2021, which is an off-cycle year, so great number for that. And that makes 13 out of the past 13 ballot measures for ranked choice voting getting passed at the local level successful. And we know that our experience here in California is the same, that when voters are given the opportunity to choose RCV, they do. Next slide. Here in California, we're expanding from 4 cities that have already been using RCV for a number of years to 7 in 2022. That's already passed, already in the works. So you can see San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, and San Leandro have been using ranked choice voting for some time. Albany, Eureka, and Palm Desert are adding that starting next year. And every one of these cities adopted RCV thanks to the efforts of hardworking activists and reformers. Progress has been happening here in California in fits and starts, though, because there has been no statewide coordinated effort to learn how to run effective campaigns for ranked choice voting, which is why CalRCV is supporting local campaigns around the state. We've got a lot of volunteers that have been involved in many of the already won campaigns here in California. And so our local campaigns team advises and coaches reformers who want to bring RCV to their cities. And I'm thrilled to say that we are working to accelerate the adoption from those 7 cities that will have run RCV elections as of next year to a dozen more. So additional 5 cities, which happen to include San Diego and San Jose, the second and third largest cities in the state, that represent more than 2 million people, or about 5% of the state's population. So a very great opportunity in 2022, and a pretty good shot in both San Diego and San Jose to get RCV passed. And you can help get it passed. Can you go back one slide? Thank you. You can help get it passed in those cities. Also in Redondo Beach, San Bernardino, and Alameda, we have active campaigns that we're supporting. So if you live in any of those cities, you can get directly involved with the campaigns. We're going to talk more about that in the local campaigns breakout room, which I welcome you to join if you're in or near any of those cities. Next slide. Thank you. We, of course, are also going to run a statewide ballot measure. That's a little ways away. It's definitely not going to happen in the 2022 cycle. But our policy and research team of volunteers is a really amazing brain trust. And right now they're working on mapping out all the details of how best to get RCV adopted for statewide offices. And in fact, if you yourself have, or if you know anyone who has experience running statewide ballot measures, would love to engage with you as well. But regardless of the specifics that we're working on, we know it's going to take a lot to get an RCV measure onto the ballot and then run a campaign to make sure it wins. This is by no means a really accurate or precise forecast. But if we look at statewide campaigns that have happened in Maine and Alaska, Massachusetts, it's going to take the endorsement of hundreds, if not thousands of organizations and politicians, plus thousands of volunteers like you and me, telling people about the benefits of RCV and explaining how it works and building support and gathering signatures, and many millions of dollars from donors big and small to pay for necessary advertising, signature gathering, campaign staff, and more. Next slide. It's still early days. Remember, as an organization, CalRCV only launched 10 weeks ago, but we've already grown considerably in that time. I looked up the numbers earlier today, and we have over 600 supporters and over 100 people who have already volunteered. They've joined one of our teams, they've done canvassing or tabling, they've joined a call party, they've done something to get involved. And it's clear that we've had a really strong start, and we're ready to take a really big step. Next slide. Which is why I'm really, really excited to announce that we're going to hire our first paid staff in early 2022, including an executive director and a field organizer. Bringing on paid staff is going to supercharge our efforts and accelerate our growth across people, money, and endorsements. Most RCV reform movements across the country spend years as all volunteer organizations. And realistically, it's just not that likely that big change is going to occur when you're an all volunteer organization, and certainly not the adoption of RCV in the biggest state in the country. Since we launched 10 weeks ago, we've already raised over $25,000, which has given us the confidence that we can raise sufficient funds to bring on professional staff soon. But we're going to need to raise another $25,000 to have enough funds to actually make our first hire, know that we can pay them a competitive salary, and have enough runway to pay them well into 2022 so that we can feel confident about that. So tonight, we're kicking off our 2022 fundraising campaign, and we hope to get as close as possible to closing that gap as we can. And also, really, really importantly, in a major vote of confidence in our strategy and capabilities, Fair Vote has handed over their California nonprofit to us, which means we now have full 501c3 status, and we can accept tax-exempt donations, including from donor-advised funds. So huge, huge news on multiple fronts here, and we're really, really excited about it. And I know that many of us are looking at our year-end giving and looking at tax deductions, and we hope you'll consider CalRCV in your giving plan between now and the end of the year, and we'll have more details about that later in the meeting. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Amari.
All right, thank you so much, Tom. That was very informative, and some of that information I didn't even know yet, so that's fantastic. I'm super excited for next year. All right, hello everyone. For those who didn't see me during the welcome, my name is Amari. Okay, so we all know how important social media is when it comes to growth and information sharing. Matthew, thank you for sharing us on your YouTube. But that means we want to give you guys a couple moments to let you know that we have an active Twitter and Facebook page. And for those who don't know, you can just search the words Cal RCV Coalition into the search bar of either Twitter or Facebook to find us. And if you really like us and are passionate about the work that we're doing, please feel free to like and share our Facebook page. And on the next slide, it should show you all a little demo, and I can talk you all through it. So once you search Cal RCV Coalition, right at the top, you're gonna see that like button. And if you wanna participate in the little thing that we have going on tonight and like the video that you all just watched, that would be fantastic. We would love to connect with you on Facebook. And if you want to share that video with your friends, in case they don't really know what ranked choice voting consists of, you can share it onto your feed, which is shown in the video. So yeah, that is my social media pitch, and I will hand it off to Guy. Would you want to introduce yourself, Guy?
I do. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thanks, Amari. So now we get into super fun stuff, as if the rest was already fun. We get a chance to now interact with each other and get to know each other. We have a few breakout rooms we want you all to join. As you can see from the slide here, the first one is live outreach and statewide recruitment. It's so important. I mean, we've got a state of what, 40 million people. We need to find more followers. And there's a lot of people that do support RCV out there, but don't yet know about it. And we've got a great team setting up opportunities for us to do that. So that, if you're interested in that at all, please join that team. The next one is local campaigns. As Tom shared with us, we already have some active campaigns going on in cities around the state, San Diego, San Bernardino, Redondo Beach, Alameda. I'm sure there's a couple I'm forgetting. And you guys on this call actually might know some that we don't know about that we can help support. So for those of you in that category, please join the local campaigns group. And then speakers and endorsements. It's super important as we grow to be able to continue to mentor and develop more speakers and to gain endorsements from politicians, from local organizations, city councils, et cetera. And then there's a lot of you on this call that are actually part of this group already, and that you've been involved, you already know what these teams are. And so the breakout is a Q&A for existing volunteers, folks that already know what the other teams are about, but just sort of want some updates. And for the rest of you that aren't sure which room to go into, stay with us here in the main room, because we'll talk about some of the other teams and help you find a good fit for you. So with that being said, can we, Randy, move to the next slide, please? Great. So, okay, so for those of you that know which team you'd like to join and you know how to join it, please go ahead and join. For those of you who know what team you want to join but don't yet know how to join it, if you go down to the lower bar down on your screen and click more, you'll find a button that says breakout room. So you can choose your room from there. If you don't yet know how to do that, stay here with us in the main room and we'll help you get to the room you want to. And we'll also go into a little bit more detail on the rooms here that don't have specific breakouts tonight, but we're happy to talk about it here. And I just saw a comment that said the rooms aren't open for joining from Jim. So.
I mean, I could, I'm co-host, so I can click the button that says open all rooms, but I.
Don't do that yet. Tom will go to his room.
So I will stay here in the main room to answer questions and help folks get to other rooms. I'll lean on Dan and Randy and John to get folks to the breakout rooms, existing breakout rooms.
Okay, I'm gonna open up all the rooms. All right.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
So
We're
the
good.
people can go. Okay. All right. So they're open.
And if you're not seeing the breakout rooms, you may have to click on the more button. If you don't see a breakout room button on the bottom of your screen, there should be a breakout room button for everyone. So, all right, looks like many people are not.
Looks like people are.
I see absolutely nothing. other than
For,
all the Brady Bunch squares?
For those of you that know how to rename yourself, put the number of the breakout room you want to be in, and some of us co-hosts can put you into that room directly, if you know how to do that.
And that's pretty simple. You can just hover over your own video. There'll be a triple dot button on the top right, and you can click on that and do rename.
Do you mind going over the rooms again, the choices?
Yes, for sure. So the room number 1 is live outreach in state recruiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see it. Okay.
Okay.
It's right on the screen. Okay, great.
Yeah, I just backtracked. And if you are able to bring up the breakout room window, you'll see the rooms listed there as well. Let's see, I see a few people.
It looks like we're starting to get sorted into rooms.
There's no more button for me either.
If there's no more button, feel free to put your room preference either in your display name or in the chat, and someone will pop you into the right place.
Yeah, so I see, to follow up on Jess's comment, just put the number that you're interested in the chat, and we'll assign you over to that room. So it looks like we have a majority of folks at this point getting assigned to rooms. If you haven't, again, put your room choice in the chat and somebody will get you assigned into the room. For those of you that have chosen to stay in the main room, we're open to talking about what the other teams do that don't have a breakout tonight, and or answering your questions. So Randy, if you can move us to the next slide.
Yep, just gotta get all these windows out of the way. There we go.
Yep, fair enough. As you guys have seen, we have a live outreach room. Under the 3 categories that we talked about tonight are people, money, and endorsements. The areas that we need to focus on to grow a statewide movement and also local movements. Live outreach, as you saw, there's room for, and many of you have already been there or are there. Fundraising is super important. For those of you that have experience in that or are interested in helping with that, we will talk about that later this evening with Dan. Speakers and endorsements, there's a room for that as well. Local campaigns, we've also talked about. We are super focused on the diversity, equity, and inclusion group here, which is, it's important. Oops, hold on. Admitting somebody in here. We want to make sure that this organization represents the diversity of California. And so for those of you that are interested in DEI, that is an opportunity to help us grow there. Marketing in general, any background in marketing at all is something that we need to continue to build within the organization. Policy and research. So for those of you that love policy, love the details, we need to do this on the state level, but as well as individual city and county level as well. So if that's something you're interested in, that's something we need help in. And tech and data. So those of you that are technologically and data management minded and with skill set, please know that that is also an area that we are looking to grow. So that being said, for those of you that are left in the main room, any questions that we can answer to help you find maybe a space or just in general? It looks like we still have about 16 people here in the main room. So for those of you in the main room who we don't know yet, does anybody want to share where they're from, how they heard about ranked choice voting or California RCV Coalition?
Hey Guy, longtime listener, first time caller.
Okay.
This is Zach. I'm actually the tech team lead, so I just want to say hello. I'm just listening in and can answer any questions about the tech team that anyone has.
Yeah.
No, I recognize that voice.
Yeah. Thanks for speaking up, Zach. Our fearless leader in tech and data. So
I'll pipe up. My name's Tom. I'm from Petaluma. I found you guys through the fairvote.org portal.
Okay.
I was interested in, I'm currently finishing up my master's in electrical and computer engineering, and I was interested in seeing what kind of tech and data needs there might be here, and how I can contribute that way. So
awesome, Tom. Thank you. And I'm looking at the names here in this room right now. Did you put tech and data in front of your name?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure so Zach can follow up. Zach, you see Tom there?
I do. Tom, have you signed up on the website and indicated that you were interested in tech?
Yes, I did. I put that in the
Perfect.
little area provided.
Then I will have the ability to follow up with you.
And for everybody else in the room, notice the upper right-hand corner of the slide that's currently shown. It says calrcv.org/choose-team. So I recommend that you click on that, and it will also give a description, short description, each of the teams. There may be some teams there that you have a skill set or an interest in checking out. When you check on those and submit, it will just let our leaders know to reach out to you after this call and help to tell you more about that and that opportunity to help us grow RCV throughout the state.
And Daniel just chatted a link to that, so it makes it nice and easy.
Perfect. Yep, thanks, Dan. Perfect. So for those of you that are still in the room, and you may have navigated over to the Choose Team link, we budgeted about 20 minutes for the breakout rooms tonight. So I think we're probably about 10 minutes into that, 15. I think our timekeeper is in one of the rooms, so I don't know off the top of my head, but feel free to continue to ask questions or throw any comments out there.
I'll ask a question. Guy, what is
Yeah.
your favorite thing about ranked choice voting? What drew you to this movement?
Oh gosh. Thanks, Jess. Great question. I was just tired of choosing the lesser of two evils. I feel like our two-party duopoly in America forces most of us, certainly at the state election and federal election levels, to choose a candidate that is less bad than the other candidate. And I feel like ranked choice voting gives all of us an opportunity to, whether it's in the primaries or the general, really vote our conscience, but also as our second choice or third choice, vote somebody that we'd be okay with. And our system just doesn't allow that. So avoiding the spoiler effect and getting to actually register our true belief and conscience. So what about you, Jess?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it for me too. For some folks on this call, they may know me from the California Yang Gang, which is now Level Up California. And Andrew Yang talked a lot about ranked choice voting when he was running for president back in 2020. And especially now that he has a third party, it's sort of even more salient that you want to be able to, as you say, vote your conscience without feeling like you are going to be a spoiler or throw your vote away. So I mean, I think it's just such a smart, common sense reform. And honestly, I'm shocked it's taken this long to catch on.
If I may.
Please.
My interest in ranked choice voting started back when I lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Cambridge, Massachusetts has been using ranked choice voting for more than half a century. I remember the first election that I was involved with, they were looking to choose 5 new supervisors out of a field of 13. And they would literally take all of the votes. They would put out 13 large tin tubs. They would store everybody's vote into the first choice and then see who came in 13th. They would take those votes, scratch off that one and resort them until they had 5 tubs left. And so every single vote in Cambridge ended up in one of those 5 tubs, almost always. So everybody had somebody normally who was reasonably high on their list who represented their views. And I think that for me was a really good introduction to the power of what you can do with ranked choice voting.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that experience with us. That's awesome to hear. I would love to contribute to the conversation. I mean, one of the biggest draws for me is the tone of campaigns. So my full-time job now and a lot of what I've spent the past several years on is a nonprofit that focuses on bringing the two sides together to have meaningful conversations and talk about politics with civility, because people are tired of just having these awfully toxic, negative campaigns. And then, of course, after people get elected, the negativity, well, campaigns never end, right? So the negativity just continues. And for me, RCV seems like one of the best hopes to really inject some of that civility back into our campaigns when people no longer have the incentive to bash the person who might be the next runner-up, right? That we've already seen people working more together on campaigns, which is kind of a miraculous thing. So it does make me excited about what RCV can do to the whole tone of our politics in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And Randy, I just want to say that sounds like a really hard job. What is the name of the nonprofit?
So it's called Braver Angels. And we've been, okay. So you've heard of it. So yeah, we've been having a lot of success lately. And we actually, so last month I got to run a workshop for staffers of Congress people in Capitol Hill. And it was just one of the coolest experiences that I've had in my entire life. And it's just, it really does show that, like, when the politicians, we've been taught, we're launching this new initiative called Braver Politics to really connect all the grassroots organizing that we've done, with voters and stuff with politicians themselves. And there's such a, we've talked to the politicians, and there is such hunger for a less toxic environment for them to operate in, right? And so that was like the very first thing that they told us. They were like, I don't want my employees, my staffers, subjected to this toxicity, right? And they're just, yesterday there was a Real Clear Politics, I think it was yesterday or recently, a Real Clear Politics article about how many people are quitting Congress because of that toxicity and not getting anything done, and the job just not resembling anything that it's supposed to, right? And so, yeah, anything that we can do like this, that shifts those incentives. And this is, we're talking about, training people in Washington, but the real fact is we need structural incentive change, right? And this is one of the major things that can do that, and set us up for third parties and just so many more people's interests really being represented, rather than just the toxic shouting match that that closed primaries create, right? And stuff like that. It's awful, and we've got to change it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's interesting because we often in the RCV space talk about the duopoly and the two parties like they're just sort of these monoliths. But Level Up California recently had a book club to discuss Andrew Yang's new book, and in it he talks a bit about the duopoly and things like that. So we had a book club, and a couple folks joined, and someone made a really interesting comment that I thought is worth mentioning now. And the marketing folks might find this interesting. They said, a lot of people do not have the same outlook. They don't necessarily the duopoly is the enemy because they are firmly entrenched in one camp or the other. But what RCV also offers is the opportunity to pick your preference within that party, because as we know, there are many shades of Democrat and there are many shades of Republican. Like in the Los Angeles race in CA 34 in 2020, we had David Kim, who is ultra progressive, and he's a Democrat, challenge Jimmy Gomez, a more centrist Democrat, challenge him from the left. And so, in a multitude of situations, ranked choice voting doesn't necessarily just screw the duopoly and hurt your party if you're loyal to it. It also gives you more options within that party, which I think is, something that we might want to keep in mind when talking to folks that might not have the same outlook as we do. And so I've been trying to be more conscious about that language in my own discussions with friends who I know very consistently vote one party or another.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And I've been, listening to things about how RCV actually functions on the ground. And, that in a lot of ways, it is a disadvantage for whatever incumbent party is in power in that location, right? And, so it does set up a bit of a challenge to convince those people that, this will benefit you ultimately, even if it diminishes a little bit of power in the short term, right? And I think part of it is raising their awareness of, what it does to your chances here, it does to other folks' chances, to your chances, the opposite way in perhaps states where you have less power, right? So, that whole balance and the national dynamic is just really important, I think, for people to understand.
Absolutely. All right, I think the breakout rooms are going to be closing in a couple of minutes and folks are going to filter back in here. Does anyone have any questions about Cal RCV, about the teams, about our plans, anything like that before we get a lot of folks flooding back in here?
Is there a place where there is a clear timeline or list of priorities, issues, things like during this election cycle, we're going to be going after this, and this. For 22, we're going to be doing this, and this. For 24, we're going to be doing this, and this. Is there a place where we can see what has been decided or what is being thought about or any of that kind of stuff?
Guy, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I'll start. So yes, we know for sure that we are going to be working on, there's already a team working in San Diego, San Jose, San Bernardino, Redondo Beach, and Alameda coming up in 2022. We are open to supporting other groups, though, unless I'm mistaken, and anybody on this call, feel free to correct me. I don't know of any off the top of my head at the moment. As far as statewide, we recognize it's going to take longer for us to build more capacity in terms of volunteers, supporters, funders, donations, endorsements, et cetera. So we don't yet know how to predict what election cycle we'll be able to really attempt a statewide ballot initiative. And so in the meantime, we're trying to support as much as we can at municipal levels to continue to build the knowledge and wherewithal capacity-wide for the state to eventually launch a statewide effort.
It seems like we are at a very particular moment. There was on the Basecamp, there was an article which I have not had a chance to read, but one of us apparently wrote an article about the governor's recall. But that is a moment in time right now where it seems that we really need to be putting forth a concrete alternative that we can start to build support around. Without having something that's concrete and clear that we can start to preach today, I think we're going to lose that opportunity very quickly. So I was wondering, I haven't been able to find anybody that's looking at that. Is that something that we're working towards, or is that something that we just don't think we can do, or what?
Guy, I'll let you take that one too.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, I haven't followed that lead. I haven't seen that thread on Basecamp. So if there's anybody else on this call that might want to address that, I'm not sure it's been decided yet is sort of the overarching answer, but happy to listen to other responses on that.
Even if there isn't something that we can do more than having a piece of legislation or prototypical legislation that we can put forward and say, this is our suggestion for how we can deal with this. Maybe we can't get on that on the ballot for 2 or 3 or 4 cycles, however long it takes. But if we can at least draw, put a stick in the ground and say, this is our solution. This is the ballot initiative that we could see fixing this.
For sure. So I can't see right now on my screen. Can you private message me or direct message me, and we will pick that up. I see that everybody's back from the breakout rooms now. So we need to move forward with the presentation.
I'll message you on Basecamp.
Please, thank you. Okay. So I think we have everybody back. Welcome back. Hope you had a chance to connect with the teams you were in. A couple comments. Please spread the word about California RCV to all of your friends and family, colleagues, acquaintances. It's a state of 40 million people. We need to build our following to really make a difference in California statewide. If you can, Randy, if you can hop to the next slide showing some events that are coming up. I know this might be hard to read. So a couple events coming up. If you're in the LA area, next Monday, this coming up Monday, we have a canvassing going on at Cal State Northridge. Please join us for that. And then in early January at UCLA, we also have we have a big Andrew Yang, Rob Ritchie event coming up in February, though I don't have the details here. But continue to come back to our website, the calendar page, because we have a lot of events that we're going to start calendaring for January and February. That being said, now I'd like to hand things over to Dan McCormick to talk about fundraising. Dan, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Guy. Number one, happy to be with everyone this evening. My name is Dan McCormick. I am the Director of Fundraising at Erickson Communication Group, and proudly working with all of you to help Cal RCV grow our mission at large. In order to make this positive change and create this political reform we're all looking for, we must drive our passion for making a difference into direct action, right? We feel that elections are not working for most of us. We want a more responsive representation, less polarization, less gridlock, a change in tone in campaigns, and frankly, more choice. Ranked choice voting is that thing that gives more power to voters, and voters are more empowered to take action in this voting process. And we see that time and time again, where ranked choice voting is used, voter turnout is higher and voter empowerment is made. And we're expanding what type of impact we can make in California, like Tom mentioned, in San Jose, San Diego, and continuing to grow across California. From a fundraising perspective, right now we've raised $25,000 in our first 10 weeks since launch. That's awesome. So in order to make our next strategic hire, we need to match that fundraising effort and raise an additional $25,000. The goal I've set for tonight is that as we're getting towards to the end of the year and as we're catapulting into 2022, we've got a really engaged group of folks here tonight, interested, motivated change makers. So I'm setting the goal that as of right now, we have 24 hours to raise our next $2,500. And there's a multitude of ways that we can do that. One, that could be you give a monthly contribution, an ongoing $10, $20, or $30 per month contribution, which gives us that predictable funding as we are building that sustained growth. Those ongoing contribution is part of the base for us to continue to grow this movement. Second, another way to give is to pledge a significant and impactful one-time contribution this evening. Please consider giving a one-time contribution today or in the next 24 hours that makes an impact towards tonight's goal and towards that $25,000 matching item. Lastly, what I want to throw out to y'all is that consider being a change champion and encouraging your friends and neighbors and network and your community to be involved with us by being a change champion. What this looks like is you could be hosting a virtual town hall or a virtual ranked choice voting event with maybe 12 to 18 folks in your personal network where you and a ranked choice voting expert can come on the call to take questions, to learn more, and to take action, be involved, donate, and volunteer to be active with Cal RCV. So lastly, as Jess put in the chat on the side earlier, the best holiday gift is a better functioning democracy. So with that, in the next 24 hours, right, we want to get to $2,500 raised. I know we can do that. And let's build towards our larger goal of matching that first $25,000. That's what I got.
Dan, you are absolutely incredible. Just sent chills down my spine. And it truly would be the best holiday gift of all. But if you don't have the capacity to give, please feel free to volunteer. We would be very happy to have you all. Okay, it is time. Is everyone ready for the results of the holiday drink ranking? I need a drum roll, and we will wait to see the results on the screen. All righty, okay. So it looks like the obvious winner, yes, Justice for Mulled Wine, I agree. So it looks like the obvious winner is hot cocoa, but in a ranked choice voting system, the winner that has over 50%, so either the person or in this case the drink that has over 50% of the votes would have the automatic win. In this case, hot cocoa only has 42%, so we are going to nix mulled wine, and anyone that put mulled wine as their top, their vote, next vote, is going to distribute to the other drinks. So let's see. It's staying about the same. Sorry, PSL, you're done. We got to go to the next winner. Let's redistribute those votes. As you can see, your votes still count. They're still on the screen. Even though your number one might not be winning, it's still there. All right, Hot Toddy, this hurts, but we got to get rid of you so we can rank Hot Cocoa as number one. They are triumphant. They will be getting 50% of the votes and are the winner of tonight's Rank Choice Voting Simulator. Thank you all for participating. And we all love hot cocoa. Who doesn't love hot cocoa? You can take it in a bunch of different ways. So yeah, Tom, would you like to close, or I can close? I don't know if we even decided who would close, but I can go ahead and close.
Take us home, Amari.
Alrighty, thank you all for joining us this evening. We hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, whatever that consists of. If you want to let your family and friends know that we will have another meeting very similar to this in February, we're going to skip January, give us all a much needed break, and come back very strong in February. 2022 is going to be a transformative year, and we would love to have you all be a part of it. So thank you for coming tonight, and thank you so much for participating. And have a great evening. Oh, and
I'd add,
sorry.
go ahead. I was going to say, I'd add, for those of you that would like to